Hello, stampers and friends. This is Lisa at Live and Let Stamp. And today we're going to be making a fall card. We're going to be doing some coloring with some Stampin Blends, alcohol markers. And I also promised you in my request that you join me that I would be giving you a little bit of a deeper dive into this gorgeous suite that becomes available on Wednesday, September 3rd. So it contains Amber Autumn, which is what I used to make this card. It's the cling stamps, and if you haven't heard, those are being discontinued. And as of starting with the November online exclusives, everything will be in the clear photopolymer. I already have these mounted because these are the two that I use, the Autumn Wishes and the Acorns and Leaves. But you also get this really, really pretty pumpkin stamp, and I'm looking forward to practicing coloring that one. Has blessed to have you in my life. Autumn Wishes. Grateful for you. Thanks, and you're simply the best. So some nice sentiments there that not just for fall cards, but could be used year-round. So I really like that. I'm not using the other stamp set that is in the suite. It is called Autumn Trees. But I am going to be, my cat just got in the chair with me behind me. So hello, Kennedy. Autumn Trees, and I just wanted to show you. This is a big tree. Also in the cling stamp. Let me grab my ruler. Here we go. Let's see. This tree is actually, wow, 4 3/4 inches tall. So that would be a great background. You also get this deer and these rocks and some grass that you can stamp. You have some more rocks here. Looks like you could maybe put some dirt. That looks like maybe put some dirt around, and then a smaller tree, because the dies, they have the big tree, which you can do the background and the tree, that you also have this nice little die that would go along the bottom of the card. Maybe they're standing in front of the tree. So that would make a really nice scene for a fall card. But wait, there's more. You get a second page. This is one big die that will cut out leaves that you can then put atop your tree to give your card dimension. And then this one cuts out this bush here or tree, depending on how you use it. This one cuts out the deer. And these two cut out those rocky scenes right there. So some really versatile dies, and some you could make more detail to put on your little tree right there if you were making that scene. Okay, Kennedy's leaving. Funny girl. All right, so we're going to go ahead and I'll be showing you some of the other things in the suite as I use them. So to begin with, I'm going to make the card base. This is Early Espresso. Nice, deep, rich, dark brown. This is an A2 card. Keep all the scraps in there. So I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to cut this at 5.5. And then score at 4.25. And we're going to give that a nice crisp fold there with my bone folder. So that will be our card base. The next layer up is vanilla cardstock. I already have this one cut to 5.25 by 4. And this is, well, it's the regular vanilla because they don't sell the thick anymore. So your vanilla cardstock, because I think it just looks really nice with the next layer. So the next layer, and I already have one cut out, but I'm going to show you a little tip, hot tip for cutting out a die that is this intricate. So these are the dies that go with Amber Autumn. You get the dies to cut out the acorns and leaves. You get the die that cuts out the pumpkins. You get a freestanding sprig here that you can cut from cardstock, as well as another leaf. But this is the one that's so beautiful. Now, this is a very intricate die. Because it's so intricate and because it's large, if you just cut this out, it can be very difficult to take this off of the die without ripping it. So I'm going to show you a little trick. So this comes in the suite. This is called earth-toned metallic paper, specialty paper. So it's metallic. It is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful golden brown. And I'm going to cut that just a little bit smaller than my vanilla. So I'm going to do that, this one at 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. Okay. These intricate dies, there's some work, but they are so worth it. Look at that on that card. It just makes the card. It is so pretty with that shiny foil. So the trick is wax paper, which makes sense because wax paper is going to prevent this from sticking. So I'm just going to cut a piece that's larger than my foil cardstock. And you have to place the die in the exact place that you need it, because it is actually the outside of the die is kept. So I made that mistake in not putting it on straight before. For this one, I'm going to use my Anna Griffin Empress cutter because it has a magnetic mat. And I'm crossing my fingers Stampin' Up! Will have a magnetic mat for the Stampin' Emboss machine soon, but as of right now, they do not. And this one is, you have to be really precise, so you don't want this die to move. So I'm going to put my metallic cardstock, and then wax paper goes between the die and the metallic paper. I'm going to put it right where I want it. And you can see through the waxed paper, so you can do this. And it's pretty precise because there's not a lot of wiggle room at the ends. The edges have a little wiggle room, but not at the ends. Let me move that up a little where I can see it better. Okay, that looks good. Okay. Now I'm going to put the top on it, and I'm going to run it through, and that magnet will hold it in place. Oh, gotta plug it. All right, so let me show you how this works now. This is the die. And I can just lift it right up off of the metal die and the wax paper. And now it's ready to weed. to get out all of the pieces. By the way, the pieces come out a lot easier when you use the wax paper. For some reason, because it was really tedious to get all these out last night when I didn't use the wax paper. It's still a little tedious. You have to go through and you want to use your, poker tour, and then these just pop right out. And I'm not going to take all the time to do that because you have better things to do than watch me take the chads out of this die cut, which is why I cut one in advance. Okay. So now adhering it, this would be a really good time to make this like a sticker. Yes and no, because it is such an intricate die and it has to be perfectly placed. Making it a sticker would make it a little permanent. So what I did to adhere mine was to just dot bits of glue. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You want the edges to all have a little bit of glue. And then just dot here and there inside. I'm not gonna do this really well, but I would put, just plenty to hold down the edges and also the major big pieces. Okay, little piece there and there. All right. I know from cutting it out pretty much where it's supposed to be from the edges. Oh, that actually did quite well. So I can get all those edges down. Now, if there are any pieces sticking up that need to be glued down, it's really easy to just take your tool, maybe at the same time, though, you might want to leave them poking up, leaves like coming up. That's actually not a bad idea. All right. Okay, we will adhere that in a bit. To do my coloring, I'm going to need, I'm going to use Old Olive Stampin Blends and Pecan Pie Stampin Blends. And I also have a color lifter that you can use to make a little bit of a highlight on your coloring. So I'll show you how to do that as well. I used this stamp and I've already got it stamped. I like to do this a little bit ahead of time just to make sure that the black is totally dry before I start with the alcohol markers, because the ink can run. You have to use a dye ink when you do alcohol markers. So you need to use the Memento ink. I also have a brown rich cocoa Memento ink, but I haven't tried it to see how the browns look. I just did it in the black Memento for this video. All right. I'm going to start with the acorns, and I'm going to use the smaller tip of the light pecan pie, and I'm going to go and I'm going to color carefully along the edge. And the entire acorn is going to get this treatment. Including the branch. when I was young, when I colored, I like to, you know, take the crayon, make it nice and dark around the edges, and then color lightly inside. So maybe that was preparing me for this. Then I'm going to take my dark pecan pie, and whoop, I'm going to use the smaller and not the brush tip, the more pointy one. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to make it a little dark along the edge. And right where Stampin' Up! Has given you these dark lines, I'm going to do that along the bottom of my acorns. Now I'm going to go back to the light, and I'm going to use the brush tip. I'm just going to fill in. And I think those are looking pretty good, actually. The more you go over it, the more ink you're going to put on it. You're going to be adding color. And I don't want this to have a lot of color in the center, so I'm not going to go over it again. If it does get a little dark, you can take your color lifter. It's actually basically pure alcohol. There's no color to it, but it will lift some of the color. So if you want to put on a little highlight, you can just brush that on and it'll lift up some of that color and put like a highlight. Okay, so for the top of the acorn, I'm just going to dot the dark. Put a bunch of dots. Dark pecan pie. If you wanted it darker and you had early espresso markers, then you could certainly dot with that. But I like to do the combos of the same color and just one time over like that. Now for the branch, I'm going to add some dark spots. And there's our acorn. Now for the leaves. Gonna do the same method, and I'm gonna trace around the edges with the light old olive. I've been making cards with Stampin' Up! Since about 2002, so 23 years. And old olive has been a color that entire time. There aren't a lot of them that are still around from when I started, but this is one that is. Such a good color for a lot of seasons. I think that's one reason why it is so popular still. Not too bright, not too dark, not too summer, not too winter. That's okay. Kind of see where the leaves overlap there. Sometimes it helps to turn your picture, your image, so you can see right where you're placing that ink. Remembering that it will give just a tad bit of bleed because it's alcohol. So you don't want to get too close to the line, just right there. You know, go right up to the line, but don't step across. Okay, so we have all of that edged. I'm gonna take my dark old olive and just give some of these spots on the edge. Do some little touches there. It's actually very relaxing. Fun to play. I'm going to go back to the lighter color, and I'm going to go to my brush tip, and I'm going to go ahead and color in. And I want to bring some of that dark. You see, if I go over it like this, bring some of that dark into. That's why they're called blends, because it's easy to blend your light to darks. And the more you go over it, the more it will blend. I tend to overblend where you can no longer see it's two separate shades. So that's what I'm working on, not overblending, because I still want those dark places to stand out. Now the DSP that I used for this card is all browns, but I didn't want to do brown leaves and brown acorns on brown paper with brown foil. I wanted it to have some color, but something that would still match. Okay, kind of like that. Do a little more blending. And you can see every time I go over it, it's getting a little bit darker. That's back there. It would be darker. There would be a shadow there. Okay. There's our acorn before and after. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I don't have one prepared, so I'm going to need to cut that. Our sentiment is from the Amber Autumn set. It's Autumn Wishes. And I have that here. I'm going to use Early Espresso. And I have a piece of cardstock here. Again, always save those scraps. You just never know when they're going to come in handy. So this is a cling stamp. I don't need to use the mat with it. Just going to right there. I think the brown looks really nice with all the other brown on the paper. But you could certainly do it in, black or even green. So both of these need to be cut pretty precisely. So since I have my magnetic mat handy here, just have to get off the previous, well, let's use this side. Okay. Go ahead, put those on and get my dies. So the Amber Autumn, this is the die for those. And to cut out the sentiment, there are no sentiment dies in this. So I went to Traditional Labels. This is coming out also on Wednesday, September 3rd. It has so many pretty label dies. Love, love, love. And I'm going to use this one. And that's going to go there. Trying to line it up there with the wishes. And this one will go around there. Okay. I'm going to put a piece of copy paper over the sentiment, just so nothing from the top plate messes up my sentiment. I want that sentiment to be pristine. Okay. Let me run this through the cutter, and then we'll put our card together. I'm really excited to show you this very unusual ribbon, I guess you would call it. They call it irregular weave. So now we have our cutout and our sentiment. We're going to be using this irregular weave trim. And at first, I really didn't like it. I'm going to be honest. But the more I looked at it, it's kind of like, it reminds me of, I don't know, like hay or straw. So it's very fall-ish. So I do really like it now. And it has a nice property that I really like, which I'll show you when I put the card together. Okay, so we have glued this on. And what I was saying was, if you wanted to get some glue under where it isn't currently, you could use your palette and maybe put a little bit of glue on a paper and just grab a little glue, not a lot, and put some on there. And then I'll just hold that down until it takes. So that's an idea if you really don't like the pieces sticking up. There. So that's something you can do. I'm going to go ahead and put some tape rudder here. This is going to go on our card base, early espresso. It could go either way. I liked it this way. Really doesn't have an up or down. It's just whatever your preference is. And then we're going to go into the DSP for this suite, and we're going to use this one that has the tree, and you'll notice that tree matches that other set. Got your, animals here, so it's a really good match for this set. But I thought it was a really pretty paper, and that's the one that I'm going to be using. And I showed these all on my preview video. If you didn't see my unboxing, I did show all of these. They're just really, really beautiful fall colors. A little fox, isn't he cute? But let's go ahead. This piece is going to be 2 inches by 5 1/4, so it'll fit all the way across the ivory piece. So I've already got it cut to 2. I'm just going to do it to 4 1/4. And we're going to put that just a little bit below halfway. Oh, wait. Not 4 1/4, 4. That's why you always try it before you put glue on it. Made that mistake too. Okay, now it should fit perfectly. Yes, it does. So now I can go ahead and put some adhesive on this piece, and it's going to go a little bit below halfway. Whoops, on the ivory. Vanilla, I'm sorry. Okay. We have our sentiment. We have our image that is colored. So I'm going to bring in my irregular weave. So I'm going to cut this to 14 inches. And I love this grid paper because you can't see it, but you see measurements up here from 0 out. At the bottom, they start at 0 on the left, and it's really easy to get your measurement without having to get out a ruler. And I'm going to use my sewing scissors for this. Make sure it's a nice clean cut. Now here's the thing I like about this. So I'm going to kind of make a design that goes up and folds over and down and folds over and then back up. And with ribbon, it's not always real cooperative to stay in place. Because as you can see, I can't put glue on this very well, and I'm not going to glue it. So I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to fold. And I'm going to push that down, and it's pretty much going to hold the fold. That is a unique property of this type of ribbon. And then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to make a fold. And then I'm going to bring it up here. Okay. And I'm going to just cut off some of that. Okay. Now, to adhere this, I'm going to use foam tape on the back of my 2 pieces on top of that. So this is where your strips of the outside strips of your dimensionals come in handy. Always save those, always save those. So I'm going to get a piece about that long, and I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to use another strip below. It doesn't have to be quite as big. And likewise on the, goodbye Kennedy, this piece, oh that's perfect. I'm gonna put a piece here, and then another little piece on this leaf. Ooh, gotta get those sewing machine scissors out of the way. I can still hear my mom. Don't you ever use my sewing scissors on paper. That was like the worst thing you could do. Never, never, never. Of course, I totally get it now. Okay. So now we have these long strips of adhesive that are going to be really, really good to hold down our weave. Okay. So I'm going to take that. Whoa. And I'm going to put that right there. Whoop. I'm going to straighten it out and give it a press. Oh, it's a little crooked. Unpress. Okay. Nope. Oh boy. It's the only bad thing. It's not real forgiving once you adhere it, is it? Okay, we're gonna coax that up. There we go. Do the same. Oh, I already peeled that off. Okay, so I just want my acorns to kind of frame that autumn word and press that down as well. So now your twine, your weave isn't going anywhere. And I like here how it kind of snuck under this leaf. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so the last thing are our dots. So in the suite, you get these streaked dots, and they're dark brown, and you can't really see the streaks very well, but they're there. I don't know if you can see, maybe on that one there's a little bit of a streak, but it's like a lighter and darker shade of brown. And I'm going to use my little palette tool here, and I'm going to use a large one. I'm going to put that here, and then I'm going to go to the small ones, and I'm going to put one on my sentiment, and I'm going to put another small one. Oh, that one stuck to my finger. I'm going to put it over there. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, this is a set that comes out on Wednesday, September 3rd. It is in the September to December 2025 mini catalog. If you would like to have a catalog, just send me a message and I'll get one of those right out to you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for watching.